Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Golfing Greenkeeper podcast. My name is Steve Smith, and I'm your host. We've got Campbell's Corner for this one, so sit back, take a seat, come for a ride. This is episode number 74. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Golfing Greenkeeper podcast, and this is Campbell's Corner with the sponsor of the segment Keeper of the Greens. I have with us Nadeem from Colin Campbell's Chemicals. G'day, Nadeem. How you doing?
Good, Steve. Yourself?
Mate, I am well. Thanks for joining me on this one again. It's a way that we get to sort of talk to the audience, talk to the greenkeepers, and anyone interested in turf, thinking about getting into turf as well, which is a good thing. We're going to be passing on knowledge today. This is the idea about this one. There's resources today. What are you excited about passing some things out, mate? Because I know you're across a lot of different things. That's why we're talking.
Yeah, very much so. It's like I think we're really only going to touch the surface of what we're going to talk about today, because there's so much more resources out there. But at least we can give the listeners something to start with and get them information they may, resources they never thought existed.
That's it, and it's a way to continue learning at home, outside the workspace, which is very important. You learn a lot there, and you learn a lot from discussions and professional discussions and the like as well. But to be able to pique that interest and you want to keep learning, and you might be early on into your trade or you might be well into your career, and you might find more information that you want to get a handle across, or a new golf course that you're working at, or different turf surfaces. So the idea of this is, well, I'm going to be picking your brains, mate, because I know you're across a lot of resources, and I know you've been in the game a long time, certainly with your background, obviously in Colin Campbell Chemicals, and knowing about chemistries and understanding what they're there to solve the problems of. So, we're talking about resources, understanding turf and understanding diseases and understanding all sorts of different pests and different things that greenkeepers have got to manage out there on their turf surfaces. So, mate, I think, why don't we start with the old school classic stuff, literature? Let's start with books. And there's some cracking books out there that some are very popular. But, mate, I want you to tell us some of the ones that you're a fan of. Maybe you're fangirling over some of these classic books that we haven't heard about, and or some that we probably should take the time to go and hunt down. They might be in the boss's office somewhere. They might be able to borrow, but might be able to find somewhere online, an online bookstore, that for your own personal collection, like I said, to learn more and keep learning. Mate, what have you got for us?
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of books, and it is quite old school and likes like that. And these, like, obviously, what I'm going to, with the ones I've got here, it's more my passion. So for the audience, look, there's nothing here on soils, on renovation, on nutrition, that type of stuff. It's the stuff that I do day in, day out.
Yep.
So there's a lot of those other books out there, but this is what I'm going to talk about today.
Absolutely.
So the first one I want to lead with is an Australian book.
Good stuff.
There is a few Australian books out there in the past, but this is one that's come out most recent. When I say most recent, I think it's about 5 years old now. It's called Pest Management of Turfgrass for Sport and Recreation.
Okay.
So the authors are, and some of the listeners probably know some of these names, Gary Beehag, Yuri Kaapro, and Andrew Manners. Those first two names I said, they're Gary and Yuri, still in the industry. Yuri works for, at this time, changed the name from Bayer to Enview, a company called Enview, which was Bayer Environmental Science before.
Yep.
So he was a part author of this, along with Gary Beehag, and Andrew Manners is an entomologist. So this book is all about insects.
Okay.
Pretty much. And insects all around that you see, turf insects. So it's a great resource. It describes each insect in depth. It talks about their biology, their life cycle, how they kill the turf, eating it, obviously, what they look like, what to look for, those type of things as well. There's a lot of insects that damage turf. That's what you get out of this.
A lot, and we only really often talk about a couple of major ones, but there's, as I've talked about in Keeper of the Greens, and you guys are sponsors of it, we know how broad this country is. We know so many different climatic situations and conditions, and so many different soil types, and so many different turf grasses, and just so many different combinations, that there are going to be instances where what's on the East Coast might not be the same as what's on the West Coast. So something like this that's centered around Australia, this is a very good resource for anyone who is interested in turfgrass in this country, because it's very site-specific to our land.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And the detail about this book, that I know it took a long time to be written. I remember speaking to Gary Beehag and Yuri about it quite a bit when they were still in the process of getting it all together. It took a long time, but it does have all of that. It does talk about, where a lot of insects came from, whether they're foreign or whether they're domestic. But it also talks about mites as well.
Wow.
It talks about ants. So it's a great book. It's got pictures in there as well of the insects, larvae stage, adult stage, and all of that side of things. So it does have a very, very good reference there with it there. And having Andrew Manners as the entomologist to sort of review everything, because there's a library of insects. As you said, there's so many insects around Australia, it's ridiculous. But obviously not all of them attack turfgrass. Actually, I'll go on a quick side note. I went to I think it was the Australian Museum about a month ago, and there was besides the exhibition, but there's a small exhibition there about different insects in Australia. And It was only a small part, but there was still about 200 insects there. So
Wow.
there is a lot of insects that we get. But this great thing about this, it is specific for turfgrass. So I'd highly recommend this book. And with this, we were going to put some pictures on the Facebook and all of that, so people can obviously know it, and we'll have some links about where they can get it from.
Absolutely.
We'll do that later on. Yeah. So people, if you're trying to write and drive at the same time, don't.
Yeah.
We'll have a list for you.
There will be links. There will be links around. Check out social medias, and we'll let you know as well later on the podcast a couple of other landing pages you can go to. But there will be. Check out the show notes, as I keep saying. Yes. Check out the show notes. So where we can put links to things, we will have the links there available to you, so you know where you can go and just click and go there. That's the idea. Mate, that's a great resource for number one. That's awesome. Yeah.
I sort of start off with the big guns for the Australian one there. Now, the rest of them that I've got are all American, but as a lot of people, a lot of listeners and a lot of the industry know, a lot of the research and the resources do come out of the US.
Yes.
A lot of the things, yes, we can utilize here. Their climatic conditions, there are similar ones, but there are different ones as well. But one book I've got, I'm just looking at it going, oh, wait a minute, okay, there's 2 editions of this book. I've got.
And let me guess, you've got both?
Yes, I do.
It's a passion. You're going to have both editions, mate. I know.
The new one only came out recently, and I'm going to give a shout out to Jason Hatton from Sustainable Machinery. He went to the US earlier this year. I messaged him. I saw he was there. I messaged him going, mate, can you get me this book, please, while you're over there by chance? I'll pay you when you get back. And to Jason's credit, he literally replied within half an hour going, no problems, Nadeem. I'll get it for you, and I'll give it to you when we see each other next. And he did. So the book,
nice.
So big shout out to Jason there. So,
nice.
The book is called A Practical Guide to Turfgrass Fungicides by Richard Latton. So he's retired now, but from Purdue University. And this book came out originally, it's been out for a while. The new edition was only 18 months old. The first one came out in 2011, so 10 years between editions.
Yep.
But talking about the resources, I go to this one a lot, because what it is pretty much is it's an encyclopedia about fungicides, every single turf fungicide registered in the US.
Really?
And it gives you practical information about how the fungicides work, the scientific side of it, not just, okay, well, this moves up, well, this moves down, well, this does this. It actually goes into the biology of how it attacks a disease, how it gets in the plant, all of those type of things. So
wow.
The great thing about the book there. So it does go into quite a lot of detail.
So it's a detailed breakdown on the way in which the chemistry reacts to solve the problem and essentially kill the target that you're after using a chemical. I've never heard of anything like that. That's unreal. Yeah, that book came out just before I lost my job. There you go. That's probably why.
So the great thing about it is it's like going, because I get asked questions, how's the fungicide do this? How's it do that? And there's not a lot of information out there. Even when you really Google it is hard to find. And I've done that a lot of the times. Like I'll sit there and Google something for half an hour. You're thinking you're going to get an answer. You don't get the answer. But this is where this comes.
That's really interesting. I like that.
The other side of this book, so it's not just about that fungicide side. It gives you the great thing. It gives you a history on fungicides as well. All the different chemistries when they come out and the years they've come out, and how long we've had some of these chemistries available as well.
Wow.
So that's the great thing about it. So it goes back to the old nasty products of the mercury-based fungicides.
Whoa.
Which I don't know. No, you probably wouldn't have. They weren't around when I started. And I doubt they'll be around your time. So before that, but. Going back like 30 years.
Yeah, plus. Yeah. There you go.
So it gives you a history of it. The other side talks about resistance. And then the other interesting thing, it talks about the factors that influence fungicide performance. So, we usually say it's like going, why has a product failed, or why hasn't it performed as the expectations? So
very
this
important.
Gives a good reasons why, and then it gets you thinking, and then you become a better turf manager for it, because going, I won't put this on because we've got these type of conditions. I'll use something else instead.
Yep. Because sometimes there's pressure from the workplace, pressure from your supervisors, from your bosses, from the clubs, from the boards, committees, to just get stuff done. And in a modern world, and I certainly talk about environmental safety and stewardship a lot. And we do sometimes push back as turf managers. You've got to go, hey, hang on, we can't do that now. That's not appropriate. That's unsafe, and all these sorts of things. But now it's to understand even at more detailed level how to just get better performance as well. And these sorts of things, mate, this book sounds like an incredible resource for this level of detail.
It does, and it also goes into about the disease as well. It does talk about disease. It's not specific for that. There's another book I mentioned in regards to that, which is sort of the holy grail of about learning about disease, but it does have that as well. So that's the other great thing about it. So it is a great encyclopedia. I'll say now, it is not one of the cheapest books going around. It's probably the most expensive one, but It's one of those ones that you will have on your shelf and you will just go back to it, all the time.
Very good one for turf managers. There you go. Very good. And what was it called again, mate?
It's called A Practical Guide to Turfgrass Fungicides by Richard Lasson.
Awesome. Good one. Note that one down, guys and girls.
Yeah.
What have you got next?
One, it's a disease one. This one is not in published anymore from what I understand. And when I picked this up, funnily enough, I picked up about half a dozen copies at the time for about, I kid you not, $10 US. This is going back about 10 years ago.
Score.
It was awesome. I'm like, what? This can't be. So I tried to put in like 50 copies, but I could only get 10. And I gave some away over the years. But it's
you're hoarding turf books. I love it. I love it.
I want to do it. I'm pretty sure you can still buy it, but it's gone up now back to $120. So
it's gone up because Nadeem's got half of the copies.
So it's the third edition one I got by Joe Vargas. So it's called Management of Turfgrass Diseases. So pretty much it's not new, but it's still, this is back 2005. So we're going back 15, 17 years. But it's one of these things going, all these books are science-based. The science doesn't change.
Correct.
So we might find new ways of managing the disease or know a little bit more about the disease, but the fundamentals are all there. It's like greenkeeping.
Yep.
The fundamentals of greenkeeping are still there. They don't tend to change. You still do all that. It's just we keep on advancing and making things better. But this is a really good book in regards to the disease. It's got pictures in there as well, which always helps. But it goes through and again describes the disease, describes why it's there, what's brought it on, the different strains of various diseases. Because usually when you see, you'll have a disease test come back, brown patch rhizoctonia.
Yep.
Rhizoctonia being the causal agent of brown patch.
Mm-hmm.
But you go rhizoctonia, okay, this one will go in deeper and go, well, there are different strains of rhizoctonia. And
interesting.
They all are different. They all affect turfgrass differently.
And I guess a bit like how with humans and viruses as well, there's different strains of the flu. So there's influenza A, influenza B. This is detailing to turf managers that there are different strains of some of those diseases as well.
Yeah, 100%. So that's the great thing about this book, and it does really go into quite deep into that. The other side I always like, and this is one of the things I love this book about, was the resistance side. It was
very important.
Where I first sort of started reading about resistance and my love of resistance, like we've spoken about, and a lot of the listeners would probably know that about me, that I'm really into the resistance side, and it really gave me a great understanding about how resistance occurs and everything like that. So this is the book, The Management of Turfgrass Disease by Vargas.
You talk about resistance, mate, and it is so important for turf managers out there, for greenkeepers and greenkeepers in learning now, apprentices and the like, if anyone, if apprentices are listening to this as well. Resistance is just incredibly important because you can inadvertently create a massive headache for yourself, for your site, for your turf. if you aren't conscious about that. I know a lot of people are, but it's important to note that it really is that important. And with a resource like this, you can really get your head around why it becomes an issue and why it can become such a practical problem. You've got to, and like I said before, we get pushed and prodded to do all sorts of things to get the job done by boards and by committees, and that's the pressure of trying to perform and present a golf course at the best you can all the time. You've also got to be very conscious about how you go about that and not creating problems by just pressing a button and going, okay, well, we've got to do this again, and we've got to do it this way, so we've just got this here, we'll just use this particular product, and we used it last time. You've really got to be above all this stuff, and these are the reasons why superintendent's role and team leaders and golf courses is so important, because you have to understand this as a professional. This is your game, and you can create issues from not being across it and people sort of, like I said, pushing you around. So you really, these sorts of details, this is why we're learning, and this is why you and I were talking about this whole resource thing, and I think it's really great because you get the time to look into these books and take this stuff in at home at more of your own pace when you can, over throughout your career, and keep picking things up and keep understanding things in more detail, and it makes better professionals. And I think this is awesome.
That's exactly. And the thing is, some of the listeners here might not know, but look, ask if you're an apprentice or ask the boss if he's got any of these books.
Yeah.
I remember when I first started, it's like going down to Royal City to see John Odell, obviously retired now as superintendent, but
name dropping again. We know you love name dropping.
I do like to drop the name drop to the ones that the people who've helped me in this industry throughout the time, and John was definitely one of them. And the resources he had at the club, it was amazing what he had. Because he bought these books, he had them on file, and he always had them there, and he had them there for the staff to read and everything like that.
Yep.
I don't know whether I dare say they're still there with the current super with Adam. But I'm not quite sure. But yeah, there are some really good resources in this. Yep, sorry.
No, I was going to say, but bosses, superintendents, head greenkeepers, and the like often do have a small library in the office. So your boss might have some of these books available, or other books in general, and you might not have even noticed. Some apprentices out there or newly qualified greenkeepers may not have realised that they're there. And great books are great resources. So I really urge people, and as Nadeem is right now, to look into any books that you can, and we're just giving you some titles, and Nadeem's passing on some of his knowledge to give you some insights and some other particulars that he likes. So yeah, some will be around in some offices out there.
Definitely. And the next book I'm going to speak about, this is the holy grail of what I refer to as a holy grail of turfgrass disease. It's called the Compendium of Turfgrass Diseases. So it's a book by Smiley, Dernoeden, and Clarke. It's in the third edition, which I've got here currently, which is back around 2005, so quite old. And it sort of goes evolution of sort of the Vargas one, the management of turfgrass diseases.
Okay.
This one is brilliant. So anything you wanted to know about any single disease, it is there. Obviously, now being 2005, some of the things, I won't say outdated, but we've learned a lot more about it. And in a way, I've sort of picked up some resources from the US conference that add to this book. But generally speaking, it's going, the great thing about this book, besides it does go on in regards to different diseases, and it'll go in the same order for every single disease. So I'll tell you a little bit about the symptoms, about the symptoms, obviously the disease, what it is, the symptoms, the causal agent, what caused it, the disease life cycle. So, obviously, why, how long it lasts, how it comes in, that side of things. The epidemiology of it, which now that's a word that a lot of people are knowing, obviously, with COVID and the likes like that.
Yeah.
Some of that section's probably at times a little bit light on. And they're also going to the control part. Not the control part in terms of fungicide. They'll mention a little bit, but it's more so in going, well, if you've got it, this is what you do from a cultural point of view.
Cultural practices. Yep.
Yeah. And which is very, very important, as we know. So one of the things is like with this is like going, some diseases, as I said, not as much info, but there's a lot of other information on some of the other types of diseases. And also it'll tell you the different strains of certain diseases as well. So as alluding to before with Rhizoctonia, it'll go through the different Rhizoctonia diseases, because there's some there that we do not see in Australia that haven't been. We get like sort of more the Solani strain, the White Tia strain, the Cerealis strain, but I haven't really seen the Zea strain here. They're all Rhizoctonia, they're all sort of brown patch, but they all affect different turf grasses and differently. So, but it's good understanding of it. That's the great thing about it, because something might come back. Like sometimes people get disease tests done.
Yep.
Come back, you've got Rhizoctonia.
Yep.
Great. Or you've got Pythium. Okay, great. What strain? Not many people can tell you. So it's something where you need to get that information. Takes a lot more work and money to get it there, to identify it fully. But if you have a book like this, you can then look at it going, okay, well, I'm looking at the Rhizoctonia species going, I've got the Rhizoctonia, this is what it looks like. I'm reading this going, okay, you might not be 100% sure, but going, I think it's this strain. And then you can read further into it and go, this is how I manage it better.
Yep.
Because at this point in time, we're recording this in October in Sydney. We haven't had, the spring is like we're 20 degrees, we've been wet. There is a lot of brown patch on a lot of greens at the moment. And it happens every year. Grand final, weekend, I always say, brown patch, you're going to get brown patch come out. And it always does. But I've seen the yellow rings, I've seen the smoky rings around the place. Two different types of strains of brown
that's
patch.
right. But still classed as brown patch.
Yep, that's it. So this book will help further quantify with the problem you have and give you an idea of what it is.
Absolutely. Great stuff, mate. This is awesome. I might go out and buy some of these myself. I'm going to hunt them down online, see if I can get some. So is that the final, that's the last book?
No, two more.
Oh, we've got two more. We're still, geez, mate, you're full of info. I'm loving it.
More. So these two, so one now, okay, I've gone on one on insects, all on diseases. This one is weed. I've got a weed book. I've had different weed books over time.
Okay.
And to be honest, I will say this, we'll go on to a little bit later website, but if you're sort of regional areas and you've got, you've got weed problems, talk to your local DPI.
Okay.
Because one of the things with the DPI, Department of Primary Industry, is that they've got information there on common weeds around the area. You know how we were talking about one might affect you on the coast, but not so much inland.
Yep.
And in regional area, the metro, weeds are very much like that as well, even more so.
Yeah, sure.
So that's one caveat I will sort of mention.
That's a good little point.
The book that I've got is called Weed Control in Turf and Ornamentals by Turgeon, McCarty, and Christians. So it's similar to the Compendium book in telling you about the disease. Telling you about the weed. It's got good pictures in there as well, so it's a good identifier that way.
Yep. It
tells you in regards to why the weeds come in, what to look for, what it looks like. One thing I will say, being an American book, they will call certain weeds certain things, like they refer
common
to
name
crabgrass.
Yep.
Crabgrass common name is our summergrass.
Yep.
So you've just got to be wary of that. That's where you look at the scientific names on them.
Yep.
But they do have broadleaf weeds. They talk about wintergrass. They talk about grass weeds. So it's really, really good in that respect. The other side of this book as well, they talk about the herbicides, pre and post emergent herbicides. They give you sort of safety aspect on what's good and what's not. And they give a bit of a rating on the different weeds as well. So that helps. And also just in sort of considerations when you are putting products out, what to expect and what to look for and why they fail or why they haven't performed as well, should I say.
And of course, because there's some herbicides that have to go at different stages of the life cycle of the weed.
Yeah.
So you've got to understand, like you said, what you're looking at and what point of its growth cycle is that weed and when it's best to treat it with herbicides, with certain herbicides. So all this stuff makes a big difference.
That's it. And that's the great thing about this book. So it is very, very detailed. And as I said, there's a lot of weeds in here that not so much that we will deal with, but that's where, again, you've got to look at the scientific name and match them up with stuff in Australia. So if you've got an Australian weed book or Australian resource, match it up with what is with here, because I'm looking at a couple of things going, goosegrass, which is crowsfoot grass.
There you go. I was going to say, we don't have goosegrass.
No, goosegrass, no. It is on a couple of labels. I have noticed it's on a couple of labels because I think some of the companies realise that people refer to it now as goosegrass.
Interesting.
But it is crowsfoot there, and they call Dallas grass. That's paspalum.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Dallas grass is paspalum, and then the favourite one is like Cooch is Bermuda.
Bermuda, yes, and of course, and this isn't Buffalo St. Augustine.
Yes, it is.
I think from memory, and these are the things, and this is why it's critical that you double check the botanical names, the scientific names in regards to diseases, because common names are only common locally. So, and one of the classics I love is in the Blue Mountains where I was working was winter fusarium, which is pink snow mold in the States.
Yes,
and
right.
Because a lot of the courses that have that issue with that disease, they get covered in snow. So when they wake up in early spring, late winter, and the snow's melting, they've got all these patches of pink snow mold underneath the snow melt, and we get it in Australia, but we don't often see it where it's just snowing. Because we don't really have any golf courses in those types of locations. So this is where common names can become a problem. And as turf managers, you learn all these things and you understand it, but just to double check. And it's a very good point to make out, mate.
Yeah, exactly. And the last book I've got, actually, I probably did a bit of a lie there. I do have one that's sort of just in turf in general. It's called Turfgrass Management.
Okay.
So this is a book by Turgeon and Kaminski. So John Kaminski is a good personal friend of mine.
Yep.
He rewrote this book. Our Turgeon, he originally did this book, so it has been around a long time, but this is a sort of completely redone. So John took it on board to completely rewrite the whole thing, updating it and everything like that. So it goes through pretty much anything to do with growing turf. That's the thing. It talks about the growing turf from seed, growing turf from sod. It talks about fertilization. Talks about cultural practices, why we do things, what we do. It does go on to the pest management, weed disease side, nematodes, and insects. So it does talk in regards to all of that. But it really goes into just a book. Literally an encyclopedia of how to manage turf grass and how to do it effectively. So
sensational.
And it gives you the reasons why. So it's a great, it's a science book, a biology book, a practical book, everything in it. And this has actually been really popular from what I understand. Not just here in Australia, but in the US and Canada, been very, very popular. So
a great all round resource, mate. By the sounds.
Exactly. That's definitely it. So yeah. So this one definitely. I haven't read through everything here. I'll be honest there, but it is one of the most up to date. It is probably the most up to date books in just regards to turf grass management. Because John's a good friend of mine, I've actually been selling him to the Australian audience.
So we can
sort of a few different shipments.
We can go through you.
Yes.
To get hold of this one. So a great all-round resource book, and we can go through you, mate, to get hold of it. If we're interested, if anyone listening out there is interested in getting hold of this book, and they can probably go online and find out a little bit more detail about it. But if they want to get hold of a copy, they can get in touch with you.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
Awesome.
So I'm just doing the personal favour to John. I'm not making any money on this. It's like I'm just bringing it in bulk. He's giving me sort of a bulk discount, and I've had quite a few shipments come in. So I've got a couple of books still here, which I bought recently. But, it's one of those things, if there end up being a bit more demand, I'm more than happy to get more out of John. It's costs a little bit more to get out of the States now than it did before. The other option is when I'm planning to go on the US Turf Conference next year, so I might bring some back with me as well. So yeah.
There you go. There. Fantastic, mate. Ladies and gentlemen listening, if you want a copy of that book you can just get in touch with Nadeem or get in touch with me. We'll put the link to Nadeem's email in the show notes. So if you want to, you can just click on that and send an email off to Nadeem, and he will be able to sort you out. You can purchase a copy through Nadeem. So that's fantastic, mate. Thank you very much for letting everyone know. That's great. Good stuff. No problems. So are we wrapped up with the books?
That's all books. Yes,
mate, and look, I love to talk about books because I've got a great library of books at home in my interest in. I've got some greenkeeping books, but I also have a lot of interest in golf course architecture, as people know. But books are great because you can always refer to them. And like you said earlier, mate, and I love that point, was that even if they are an older edition, the science is still the same. We just started to learn a little bit more in some of the details in some of the areas. So, but it's a great reference to go back to. And sometimes I find it's great to go back to some of the books that you come across in your early days in your career. I've got a couple of greenkeeping ones that I do, and I go back to every now and then, and I look at it and I go, you know what? That was helpful. I just went back to what I remembered, and it was just a good way to jog my memory and some of the things that I knew or that I've forgotten. And they're always there. You don't need to worry about logging on or getting service, or you can walk in to your bookshelf and grab that and have a good read and get yourself up to date and get yourself a little bit more knowledge about it. So, mate, thank you for the book resource part of this podcast episode, mate. That's brilliant. Now,
no, definitely.
I'm going to ask you, mate, some websites. Have you got some good websites? Because the internet is a massive. It's the information age that we're in. We all know that. So the internet is a massive resource, and it's usually the one that everyone goes to first, not to books. But what have you got for us to save us searching for hours to find somewhere reasonable that's a good resource on a website? Have you got a couple of good websites that we can go to, that we can click in the show notes and go straight to?
Yeah, definitely. I guess one sort of to go straight to one is called Resist POA. So the Resist POA is a working group that's funded by the USDA, United States Department of Agriculture, where they have given a whole heap of money to work on the wintergrass problem. That's in the US.
Okay.
So they're a big working group, and we have similar things like that here in Australia with our universities, with our research extension, the DPIs and the likes, where they invest money. It's a lot of it's in broadacre crops and the likes, or horticulture crops, where and we see it with Turf Australia getting money for projects and that. So that's what it's like over there. But they're doing it for just wintergrass. So there's a big working group that is telling you about what they're doing about they're surveying resistance in the US wide, and then they're working also on understanding wintergrass a lot more and why it's such a problem, and then trying to work out different strategies to combat it. So that website's updated every so often with new information, but go and have a check on that one. Called resistpower.org, but obviously we'll have the links.
We'll put the link in there. Yep.
Yeah. That one. Another one, you do have to pay for this one. The best way in Australia is to become a member of the Australian Sports Turf Management Association, the ASTMA.
Okay.
Become a member there. So, especially if there's any apprentices in here, or sort of listening, you do get discount rate, I'm pretty sure, for apprentices. But become a member, and then there's in the member section, there's a tab called the TGIF, which is a turfgrass information file.
Are you sure it's not? Thank God it's Friday.
I thought about that when they named it.
I just when you did the website, then I didn't realise it until you actually, because obviously the web title, but not the abbreviated web address. And I'm like, TGI. Oh, okay. Yep, sure, got it.
So it's interesting because you talk to guys in the US, they know obviously thank God it's Friday, but they also go TGIF. Yes, we know that surf site. So it's literally a resource of all different journal articles, resources, magazine articles on anything to do with turf. Some things are restricted access you can't get, but realistically, about 90% of what you can find, you can just access it. So if you're a member of the ASTMA, log on to the members section, go to the TGIF, click on the yes, I agree with all the terms. Then you get in there, then you just start searching, whether it's a keyword, whether it's to do with a disease, a weed, a type of grass, or someone who's published something. It's all there. And even there's a lot of John Nayland articles there as well. So we are represented there in Australia.
Fantastic.
I dare say that I think there's quite a few others, but it's it's like a Google search for turf.
Okay.
That's what it is. So it's from Michigan State University, and as I said, they are collating a whole heap of information, and they're updating it regularly as well. So that is a definite one, but it is a paid one, but definitely have a look at it.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Great to hear. What else have you got for us?
One more is it's a sort of a bit close to my heart. It's a Facebook group called Turf Management Australia.
Of course. We've got to put this one. Look, this is a wonderful community resource for the turf industry, isn't it? Go on, mate. I think this is brilliant.
Yeah, definitely. So this was started up by Ian Thompson. At the time, he was at Manly Golf Club. They went to Penrith Golf Club. He's working with Living Turf at the moment, but he started the page. So I always say, look, he's the one that owns it. He's the one that started all. There's a few of us admins on there. So it's pretty much a private group on Facebook where we can chat about turf. You can put out, you can ask for advice. You can put, how cool everything's going on your facility. Anything you want to ask in regards to turf, it is there. So any turf manager in Australia can join it.
Yep.
We don't tend to allow, if you're not a practicing greenkeeper, we don't tend to allow it. So quite a few home lawn guys want to get on there. We point them to other pages.
Yeah, sure.
Because it is a professional site. So we've got professional turf managers there. So it's a great one. There's a lot of things to learn in there. So definitely, sign up for that one, Turf Management Australia.
It's a great professional turf community. Like you said, that's the group. It's very selective on who comes in. but it's all about that. It's to ask questions, to talk professionally between people. It is a fantastic community on Facebook, and I don't say that a lot about Facebook communities, but this one, from a turf perspective, is absolutely sensational. So if you're a working turfie, greenkeeper out there on turf properties, turf surfaces, and you're in the industry currently working, it is a ripper to be part of. So if you're listening and you want to be on it, that's one to make sure you sign up to. Well done.
Yeah, definitely. And one more I'll mention really quickly is that there are a lot of turf universities in the US which have really good resources as well. I'm not going to mention them all here, but one of the things is just going, certain universities are known for certain things. Like if you are interested in what Steve was saying before, snowmole fusarium, Wisconsin University, they just do a heap of trials there.
That I didn't know that. This is good to know, mate. Cool.
So there's a lot of universities which they publish all their work, because they do work every year for they get funding and they do research work. So they publish all of that. So whether it's Purdue University, Clemson, Penn State, Tennessee, Auburn, I'm just trying to think, UC Riverside, Rutgers. What else is there? Oh, guys,
that's a lot.
There's quite a few.
That's a lot. That's a lot. I was just about to ask you, have you lived over there?
No. But I've been to quite a. No, I haven't been. I'm planning to get to quite a few of them, but I've only been to like 2 of them so far.
That's unreal. No, that's a lot. Even I didn't realize until you rattled that off. Some of the more Penn State, and like you said, there's a couple of the others there that are more well known. But I didn't realize there were so many. That's unreal.
Yeah, there is a lot there. So each university will do a heap of work, but a lot of them are specialised in certain areas because that's what the issues that they get. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Like the guys up north up at Rutgers, they're all cool season grasses. They're not going to talk about anything to do with cooch. But then you go, University of Florida, if you want to know anything about warm season grasses, disease and the likes like that, University of Florida, Phil Harmon, there's plant pathologist, and then you've got Billy Crow, who's a nematode expert there. So you've got all people all over the place. So it's different to Australia, where not the climate's different, but it's all fairly similar. In the US, everyone's a very different. But have a look there, and just take your time to look and finding the information that you need.
So where do we go to find are we just searching for?
That's one you got to have to search for. Yeah. So I can get you a list. I'm more than happy. I'll get a list with the show notes and put them all in with the ones that the university from their direct pages. I'll
okay.
I'll do that.
That's cool. No, we can do that, mate. That sounds great, because otherwise we'll end up searching for days. So again, if we can just pinpoint some for everyone in the show notes, and there's a little bit of work in the background of this one. We're creating work for ourselves, mate. I'm not so sure that was the idea, but no, all good. So the idea is to really give people resources, where to go, what to look for. So that's the essence of this podcast, which is fantastic, mate. You're coming out with so much stuff. I'm loving it. Okay, so that's the website stuff sorted. Is there any more you got up your sleeve that you're going to give us? Or
there probably is, and you know what? After we finish this, probably going to be another 5 or something like that. So we'll just put them in the show notes.
No, that's all good, mate. Okay, so look, one of the new mediums is podcast. So we've talked about books, we've talked about websites, and that's all written stuff as literature and books and websites we can go to, and communities on Facebook and the like, and research papers and all that sort of stuff from the universities. That's great. Let's go to audio stuff. Let's go to podcasts, because this is really starting to explode. And there's a lot of professionals starting to talk about turf as well. And, mate, I'm going to start off with yours, Behind the Turf, which is Colin Campbell Chemicals. You've got a great podcast out there. We did touch on it last time, but let's rehash it so people know about it.
Yeah, so pretty much Behind the Turf. So when you go on there, if you're there, I have not done an episode this year. I apologise for that. I've been way too busy.
Slack ass.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
No, it's been a funny year, but you've been part of my podcast as well. So I've been able to that's what we're doing here in Campbell's Corner. This is in a kind of way you've sort of bounced across to this one, but we'll make sure that you get time to keep bouncing, because I know you've got some content for Behind the Turf to come out, and there's already a good back catalogue, isn't there, of resources.
There is, yeah, and I thought the premise behind it was going. I go to the US conference pretty much every year, and I've got to know a lot of university professors and the professionals over there. So I thought to myself, why don't I do a podcast with these guys? I'll just ask the question.
Yeah.
And they all said yes. So
Wonderful.
I sat down with them and just asked them agronomy. We talk if it's a short one, going what's been going on, what are they researching. We talk about specific topics, and I've done a couple of them. I've gone back to them two, 3 times because we talk about different topics.
Yep.
So it's a good agronomy podcast. That's what the best way to describe it.
Yep, it's great, and you've got 30-something episodes, I think, from memory. So there's plenty there for listeners. Obviously, if you're listening to this podcast, you're across our podcast work. So that's why I wanted to talk about this one as well. So go and search for Behind the Turf podcast by Colin Campbell Chemicals, and Nadeem is the man on the microphone with the guests, and you will be learning a great deal. Much like the other resources we've already mentioned, it's a great resource podcast to get involved with and to start listening to learn more. What other podcast do we have, mate?
Yeah, the other one I listen to, besides the Golf and Greenkeeper, and all the time, you've got to listen to that one if you haven't. All the episodes, not the Campbell's Corner and the Keeper of the Greens, the rest of it as well.
Wonderful.
There's one called Turf Tuesdays. So this is a online webinar that the University of Tennessee do during the summer. They've done it for 2 years in a row. I haven't actually looked at it, but I'm pretty sure they've got all the back catalogue on there as well. So it's only available on Apple Podcasts, or you can watch it on their YouTube channel. Either way, so because they will bring up some slides and talk about it, but obviously if you're on the podcast, you can't sort of see them. However, it's like say you're listening to it. It's Jim Brosnan is the host, University of Tennessee weed scientist. He pretty much runs all the episodes, but he brings on different faculty members throughout the university. Like he's had Brandon Horvath on there, who does diseases. He's had Dr. Sorokin in regard to sports field management. But he gets people from Virginia Tech, he gets people from Florida, he gets people from all over the states, and just talks about a certain topic.
Fantastic.
So, and they do it for about an hour, and that's it, 50 minutes to an hour, and it's about 8 episodes every year. They just do it over the summer, and then they stop and redo it, then do it again.
That's brilliant. Turf Tuesdays. That's the one we've got to look up for that one. That sounds really interesting too.
Yeah, that is.
But wait, there's more. What else have you got? One more.
One final one is called Turf Dudes.
Turf Dudes, okay.
Spelled TURPH DUDES. Dudes.
Turf Dudes. Turf
dudes.
With a PH. It's like me. I say Stephen with a PH. And everyone, that's right. The qualification of the name. It's a PH. Turf with a PH. So Turf Dudes.
Turf Dudes. And the reason for that is the people who do it have got PhDs. It is.
That's cool. I love it.
It is a company podcast called Harrell's. They're a fertilizer company over there. But the only thing you know anything about Harrell's is when they say they're from Harrell's and a little bit of intro, and that's it. It's similar to my one, and that's what sort of I can't remember whose was first, but it's very similar to mine that they interview. It's an agronomy one. They interview people from all over the states, again, different universities and the likes like that. So
brilliant.
It's a great information, great resource there to learn about, again, the agronomy side of turf management.
Sensational, mate! I didn't know about those ones. So that's really, really good for people to go and download, to go and subscribe to, and to listen to. So what we've got yours, of course, Behind the Turf. We've got Turf Tuesdays, and we've got Turf Dudes with a PH.
Dudes. Yes.
I reckon that's brilliant. That's a couple of podcasts that I'll be certainly searching for, mate, and getting a listen to see what they're all about and how they work. So, mate, that's a lot of there's a lot of stuff there. There's a lot of stuff there for people to get on top. On top of course, the conferences that come in, seminars that come in, conversations that we can have with peers and the like when we catch up. There's lots of ways to learn, and if you're getting into a career in greenkeeping, these are some basic places that you can go to and easy access to, and some books and resources you might want to look into getting for yourself at home. And I think it's all great, mate. So, Nadeem, that really is awesome, mate. I appreciate you doing all that. You've done all the hard work on that one, getting it, because we were talking about it, and I knew that you already knew a lot. So I thought it would be quite easy when you and I were talking about the idea of how to give people more knowledge and more information as greenkeepers so they can continue to improve. And mate, you are all over it. You've got a stack of stuff there. So thank you, mate, for sharing all of that stuff. That's awesome.
No, my pleasure, Steve.
Now, mate, we can't walk away from a podcast episode without talking about, and I just touched on seminars and the like, your Power Forum, and I say yours loosely because you've got a couple of other partners involved, but you've got a Power Forum that you've organised, and it's going on down in Melbourne. Tell us. We've already touched on it. We've had a little bit of advertising about it on my podcast as well. Give us some more details again and run us over what's going on, because I believe the Full House sign is up.
Yes, it is. When people listen to this, it goes out. I'm going to have to close it off because I am at my maximum number that I wanted, that we could sort of fit comfortably in the room. So with our partners, Greenway Turf Solutions and K&B Adams, it's been very, very successful. I apologise for people who are probably going to try to get on and get a ticket.
We did tell them. We've already spoken about this. So unfortunately, if they've missed out, they're just going to have to wait till you throw another one on, because we knew, you and I have been talking about, I knew when you were doing it and you were getting it all set up and getting it ready, and then you put the promotions out there, and it was about telling people, and we did that through the podcast as well with Nadeem's Nuggets and the like, so people knew, because it was going to be snapped up fast, and I can't believe that it's already full house. So when it's on next week, on the 25th, is that right? The 25th of October?
25th of October, yes.
It's a full house already. So look, it's going to be, it is unfortunate that some people can't make it because it's full, but we know. So when they see these things again from you, you've got to get in fast. You've got to get in quick. So mate, tell us about what's going on. Yeah,
definitely. So I've got Jim Brosnan from University of Tennessee to talk about the latest in POA research. So it's not a product day by any means. I'm looking at the program and going, I wouldn't mind doing a bit of an update on Polka, but to be honest, there's not much time. But because I wanted people there for the information. That's the thing.
Yes.
So I'm just a vehicle for this information. That's all I am. So, and with our partners that are helping that. So I've got Jim Brosnan there. He's going to be on for about 3 hours via Zoom, and it will be interactive. And the other side, I also got Peter Butsalas from Plant Science, University of Adelaide. So he does a lot of resistance testing for the broadacre agriculture market,
right?
And he's been doing a lot of work in turf in the past few years. I know he started off with doing a lot of work for Bayer, but a lot of people are sending in samples for him to screen to see if they've got resistance to certain chemistries. And we've used him initially to screen Polacure against every resistant variety just to make sure there is no resistance.
Yep.
Natural resistance, which we found there isn't any, which is great.
But
the other side of it, and I've been sort of sending him other samples here and there, but his knowledge, not just on his resistance knowledge is paramount for the industry, but it's like there's a lot of information that he knows about chemistry of products, but also what he's learnt from broadacre that we can utilise in turf. Because resistance is resistance. It's not like, okay, I've got resistance to this weed in broadacre, and it won't happen in turf. It will happen. So he can really come over and give us an understanding of what we need to know and how we're going to combat it and what to look for, and obviously the services that he can offer.
Yeah,
because it's not a very expensive service to get the information there. I know in the US they're doing a lot more resistance testing, and it's helping turf managers justify more expensive chemistries.
Okay,
because a lot of it's not working. They go, look, we're going to need more money to deal with this problem because of this resistance, and because it comes from a reputable. They do it through the universities there, or you do it through Peter Butsalas. It's a great resource to help aid what you need to do to be a turf manager, to be a successful turf manager for your members.
Absolutely, mate. That's two fantastic guests and speakers, two knowledgeable speakers. And Jim Brosnan, you mentioned now, he was on one of the podcasts. Is that what you mentioned before?
Yeah. So he does a Turf Tuesday.
Turf Tuesdays.
Turf Tuesday, and I've had him on my one 3 times, I think now.
Yeah, wow. Okay.
3 times. I've had him with, once by himself, once with Fred Yelverton, and once with John Nayland. I had as a co-host at one stage.
There you go. So if you didn't quite get a ticket in time before it sold out to the Power Forum to listen to Jim Brosnan, for example, who's one of the speakers there, you can go to these podcasts and listen to Jim as well. So, mate, there's a lot of good things happening down at this Power Forum. I'm really excited about seeing how it's all going to unfold and listening to these two speakers in particular. There's going to be a lot to learn.
No, there will be, and I'll put some things on social media and the likes like that. And I'm looking also later on how I can bring some of the information out to just to the general turf industry and the likes like that. But that'll come out over 6 months afterwards, type thing, when I get time to do things, of course.
put it all together. In
between my day job.
Yeah, You've got a day job?
Yeah, I go around and talk to people. That's what everyone says. Like, I do a lot of talking, which I do.
So we knew the podcast was going to be a great forum for you, mate, to join in. Mate, that's brilliant. So, look, I'm really excited. I know you're really excited. Your partners are all part of it as well, and you got a full house signed. So, down at Woodlands Golf Club on the Sandbelt of Melbourne on the 25th of October, it's going to be fantastic to everyone who's coming, and I've already spoken to quite a few people on socials who are going to be there, and I'm going to be there. I'm excited about it, talking to people. We're doing a little bit of a podcast from there as well, which is going to be brilliant. So, mate, it's gearing up to be a fantastic event, the Power Forum, and one of these things that I want to make sure. When you tell me you're putting these things on, and I know you've done similar things in the past, it's important to talk about it, I think, so that when you put these things on in the future, mate, we're across it, we're aware, our ears are out and open to hear that these things are there and available, because these are other ones that we can look for that we might, if we can't make it to the conference, the annual ASTMA conference, the big one, because not everyone can go to that every year. And if you can't make it, these other ones that you're going to put on as well from your company to educate people are things that we might be able to get to if we can't make it to the others. So it's always good to hear that you are doing this to help educate people, mate, in a different way.
Yeah, definitely. And that's what I want to do. And I've always got thinking going, where else can I take this later on? Can I do something of a hybrid next time round? Just watch this space and see what happens. But if any of the listeners ever have any ideas, feel free to get in touch with me as well, because some of the ideas that I've done in the past has come from talking to people. Simple as that.
Mate, great to hear. Fantastic stuff. And look, you're going to have to tell people your phone number. Go on, tell them.
All right. It's 0403 110 608.
There you go.
If you want to call me, yeah, and you can. More than happy for you guys to give me a call and have a chat.
Do that.
How big or small the issue is.
Absolutely. And that's the idea. You're out there to help people, not just to sell the products that you have that can assist people, but also help them in other ways. Like you've talked about cultural practices, information, education, all sorts of things, mate. This is what I love about talking to you about this type of stuff, and I'm glad you're leading the way as well in doing it in this country, and your knowledge base and your connections, mate, are fantastic. So look, thank you, Nadeem, for being part of it. All and sundry of things are going to be in the show notes, guys. So make sure you check out the show notes. It's going to be massively long. There's going to be so many things. So thank you to Nadeem, mate. I appreciate you being on the podcast and taking time to tell the listeners about all these different wonderful resources that they can go and access and find and better improve their knowledge base and to become better turf managers, mate. So appreciate, on behalf of everyone listening, mate, I thank you for your time. It's a well-served thing to pass all that on to everyone.
No, my pleasure, Steve. Really enjoyed, and besides the golf and greenkeeper pass, the keeper of the green segment, everything that you do, I believe, just helps the industry just as a general as well. So good work from yourself as well.
No, mate. Thank you very much, Nadeem, and thank you to everyone. And I hope you get out there and have a good time being better turf managers. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for coming along for the ride with Nadeem and I as we try and give you some resources into the greenkeeping industry, somewhere that you can go and further your knowledge. That's the idea. Thanks to Nadeem for that one. Thank you guys very much for listening and being part of it along the way, and I hope you took something out of it. Don't forget, there's going to be a stack of clickable links in the show notes, so take your time, get through there, have a look, and talk to people. And if you want to know more, give Nadeem a call, give myself, get in touch with me on Nadeem, and just look, it's all about education and making you guys better turf managers. So thank you very much for listening. Thanks to Nadeem for being part of Campbell's Corner and helping us deliver that to you on the Golf and Greenkeeper podcast. As I always say, you hit them clean, we'll keep them green, and I'll catch up with you very soon.